Hi there, Laurel Beard here. Welcome to another Simply Card Making video. And today I'm participating in a blog hop with Simon Hurley. He's reached 1,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. And the theme for the hop is watercoloring. So I'm going to watercolor with the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. That's always such a handful for me to say. But that's the card I'm going to be making in today's video. And I love starting off with just a piece of white paper. And then the end result has no white. I think it's so cool. So I'm going to use my Misty stamping tool here for placement. I'm going to be using the Mondo Poinsettia stamp set from Ellen Hudson. I'm going to set that right on my cardstock where I want it to stamp. Then I'm going to press down on the door, pick up the stamp, ink it up with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some embossing powder and heat set since I'm doing some watercoloring. This is the great thing about the Misty. I didn't get a great stamped impression the first time, so I just added more ink and stamped it again. Perfect placement every time. Now I'm going to grab one of the leaves from the stamp set here. Again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball it where I want it to be. I'm going to put it on the cardstock. Then I'm going to take the door or the acrylic part of the Misty stamping tool and press down, pick it up, ink it up with that same VersaFine ink, and then I will get that leaf exactly where I want it to be. And if I messed up, I could have easily restamped that. Last, I want to put in this smaller leaf. I'm only going to partially ink this up because I didn't want the stems to overlap. I'm going to end up not inking up enough of that stamp set, but I'm going to fix that with a Copic marker in a few minutes. I'm not going to worry about it right now. So because I use that black pigment ink, it's going to stay wet longer. So I'm going to sprinkle on some clear embossing powder here and then heat set it with my heat tool. I like to heat set my images when I watercolor because I want the outlines of the images to stay bold and crisp. And sometimes when you watercolor over inked images, sometimes the outlines kind of fade into the watercolor, and I didn't want that to happen, so that's why I decided to heat emboss it. You can totally skip this step if you want to. So here's where I'm going to go in with the Copic multiliner. It's a waterproof marker here, and I just went in and added the little end of that leaf there. Nobody will ever know except y'all because you saw me do it in the video. So I'm going to be doing some watercoloring with the Zig Clean Brush Real Color markers. I'm using a swatch sheet that my friend Jessica Frost from allthesparkle.com provided. And I'm using some Bristol watercolor paper. I find with these markers it's important to use the right paper. I first got these markers and wasn't impressed with them, and come to find out I was using the wrong kind of cardstock. So I am using Bristol paper right now. You can also use any 90-pound watercolored cardstock. I find that works well too for the blending. So if you're having any issues with the blending of these markers, try changing up your paper to either a Bristol or any brand 90-pound cardstock, and you might be very impressed like I was. So I'm going to go ahead and play some music and watercolor in these poinsettias and leaves. I'm also going to add some watercolor to the background as well, and then I'll be back towards the end of the video to finish up the card. right, so we're just about done. Isn't it funny that this all started off with a white piece of cardstock? I just love how adding color and stamps can transform what you start with. I'm going to use my Wink of Stella here in clear and just go over and add some shimmers to these poinsettia leaves. Now, because I am using those zig markers, it is reactive to the moisture of the Wink of Stella, and that's okay. I'm just doing some more blending here. And then I'll just wipe off the tip of my Wink of Stella onto a craft sheet to remove any of that red watercolor that came up on the tip. And my Wink of Stella is perfectly fine. I decided to use some Christmas red stickles for the center of my poinsettia here. Make sure you squeeze off a little bit off to the side because without fail, if I don't, a big gob comes out on my card and ruins it. You know what I mean? So I always test it off to the side a little bit just to make sure. Now this is some shimmering spray from W+9, and I'm just flicking on some with this stick here. With the stirring stick. I never use the actual spray nozzle. I always use a stirring stick. I just feel like I get better placement. And when it dries, you'll get these nice shimmery water flecks. As a finishing touch, I need to add a sentiment to this card. So I'm using the Ellen Hudson Santa's Flight stamp set. I like that stamp set, or that sentiment right there, but I don't want to use the whole thing. I have a thing about cutting my stamps. I'm just scared to do it. So instead of cutting this sentiment apart, I'm just going to take a piece of masking paper and I'm going to mask off that second line of the sentiment. So I'm going to cover up that second line with some tape. Then I'm going to grab my ink pad and then just ink the sentiment there. And then I'll remove the tape. And then I can go ahead and stamp this in place without having to cut apart my stamp set. It says Happy Christmas to all. And I love saying Happy Christmas because I'm a dorky Harry Potter fan and that's what they say in the movie. So anyway, Happy Christmas to all. Again, use that Onyx black ink. So I'm just going to be lazy and not get the spoon and just dump that sentiment strip into the tub of clear embossing powder. And then I'll just zap my sentiment with the heat tool here. And then we're good to go. All we've got to do now is put this on a card base. And we're done. So I decided to use a red card base. Why not? And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that down. I'm going to leave a little bit of a border on the left-hand side shining through of that card base to tie in the red from the poinsettia. Got a little bit hanging off the edge there, so I'm just going to take my scissors and cut that off, and bam, we are done. So yeah, see, now you can see all the little water flecks, and I just love this watercolored background. I think it's so fun. I've never done a watercolor background with the marker before. So I had a really good time. This is a video hop, so you're gonna wanna be sure to hop on to the next person on the hop. There are giveaways, there are sponsors, so be sure to head to my blog for all of the information. My blog is www.laurelbeard.org. Yeah, there'll be 5 prizes up for grabs from the comments left over on all of the hoppers blog. So be sure to check that out. And you're going to hop on over to the Ellen Hudson Classroom blog now. And that will be the final stop on the blog hop. Thanks so much for joining me today.